Hey guys, it's Michelle and I'm here for another episode of Hashtag Mondays with Michelle. And this is where we get together and talk about a topic that's relevant for business. But before we do that, I'd like to take a moment to review a book that I have not taken the time to read. And this week's book is Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And this is one of those books that was given to me in hopes of me actually reading it and possibly writing about it on either my blog or on my Money Inc. column. And so I actually might read this book. So there's very few books that really impress me. And this one is one that I probably will read. And so before I get to the push and pull, the play between being rigid and casual in your business, I do want to review this book, which I have not read. So one thing I like about this book is that the topics or the chapters are definitely smart topics. They are not dumbed down in any way, which is why I'm tempted to read it. It has not been oversimplified for the masses, and I really appreciate that. But why would you want to influence and persuade? And this really isn't called out in the description or in the table of contents, but why would you want to have persuasion or pre-persuasion? It's to sell more, right? To sell people, whether you are selling them on a religion, a business opportunity, your business, whatever. That is the point of persuasion. My main challenge with this book is the subtitle, which is a revolutionary way to influence and persuade. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's probably not revolutionary. In fact, I would guess that even though these topics and these table of contents chapter titles are not dumbed down, they are probably pretty basic. The science behind this book is probably pretty basic, maybe even primal, right? If it's going to work, it's really not revolutionary. It's probably actually primal. And what it's going to boil down to, if Robert Cialdini is as smart as I think he is what it's going to boil down to is pre-persuasion relationship building, right? Some natural, primal stuff that will never change and will never be revolutionary. My apologies to Mr. Robert. But here's what it's going to boil down to. Here's what it has to boil down to if you are going to increase your own ability to persuade and have influence in your industry. It's going to boil down to the fact that you know who you are, right? That's step number one to persuade. You've got to know who you are and how you're different from people. You got to be able to own who you are in order to have any influence whatsoever in any industry at all. You also want to know who they are. You got to know who you're talking to. What conversations they're having at the dinner table at night. What are their secret thoughts, things that they don't like to talk about or don't talk about very often. You've got to know who they are in terms of how they identify and how they think and what they're afraid of and what keeps them up at night and all those different things, right? So you got to know who you are. You got to know who they are. You got to understand and connect with them. They should walk away from a connection with you that makes them think, this woman gets me, right? She gets me at my core. That's something that's absolutely critical to you being able to persuade and have influence in your community. You got to be able to understand and connect with people in a way that makes them feel like you understand them. And you got to show up predictably and regularly to build this relationship. So, persuasion, a revolutionary, it's never going to be a revolutionary way to influence and persuade people. I would rather him put a primal way to influence and persuade people. I think it would have made a more powerful subtitle, but he didn't ask me. So, Persuasion, I probably will read it, at least scan it because it has some really smart topics in here. I'll let you know if I do. Now, our topic today for Mondays with Michelle is this push and play, this little push and pull between casual and rigid in your business. And this really came out or came about, I guess, this weekend. I was at a conference in Orlando, Florida, and I was thinking about the way I dress for these conferences, not only conferences when I'm just attending, but in this case, I was speaking or even when I have my own events, right? Like, how do I show up? And one of the things that my mom has always gotten on me about is being too casual, right? Like, I show up in jeans or a sundress. It depends on the weather, but it's always jeans or a sundress. Now, I dress things up with heels or cowboy boots. I'm not sure that really dresses things up. But that's how I dress, right? It's always, always, always the same. My language is very casual. I am pretty smart, but I have no interest in using words that make me look smart, but might somehow take away from the point of my message, because that's not very smart to do, right? And so in a lot of ways, I'm very, very casual in my sales letters, in my sales process, how I engage with my prospects, how I serve my clients. It's very, very, very casual. However, if I wasn't rigid about a lot of other things, I couldn't afford to be casual in the things like how I dress or how I talk. Right? And so there's some rigidity about me and how I do business that if you've been around for any amount of time, you know, you've seen this at play, right? So I'm quite rigid about things like my morning routine. In fact, when Shelby was sick, was it 2 weeks ago maybe with mono? And she and I were talking to Chris and she was right there. I was like, you know, she's like super needy, and we were kind of joking around about that. And I said, you know, she wants to put her head in my lap when I'm journaling. And Chris, who totally knows how important my morning routine is, not just because it makes me feel good, but because it grows my business, you know, he's like, oh my gosh, he's like, you did not do that. Shelby, you cannot mess with mom when she's journaling, right? He knows how important it is and how rigid I am with my morning routines, which create not only my success, but also create a certain peace and calm around how I grow a business. I remember when my business, and he remembers when my business was not calm, and it was not something I always enjoyed, when it was a lot of push and a lot of hustle, and so he remembers that, right? And it's the rigidity around my morning routine which allowed me to bring that calm and profit and growth into my business. I'm rigid about showing up every day for you guys, every single day. When I'm traveling, when I'm on vacation, it doesn't matter. I'm showing up. I'm rigid about that. It's part of who I am in this market. I'm rigid about selling daily. I'm always selling. And that is absolutely critical to my success. I'm disciplined about these things. I'm disciplined about other things too that are not business related or not directly business related, but I'm disciplined around my spiritual practice. I'm disciplined now around how I eat. I'm disciplined about how I show up in my body. I'm disciplined about how accessible I am. Very, very disciplined about that. But there is a push and pull to this, right? There's a balance we need between things that we're rigid about and things that we're casual about regarding our businesses, right? Now, this push and pull, this balance of casualness and rigidity will be different for all of us. But make no mistake, it is part of your brand. And here's the thing. When you can define and put words to where you're casual and approachable and accessible, and also where you are rigid and disciplined, this starts to carve out your brand in a way that allows you to stand in a category of one, right? And this is a different way of approaching brand, but it's very revealing. And so I encourage you, while it's different for all of us, to spend some time on creating this, back door to your brand, which is where am I casual, accessible, and approachable, and where and when am I rigid? Because this falls into not only a marketing aspect of your brand, but also in building your business in a way that is very deliberate. One of the things, and then I'll close, so if you have any questions, let me know, but one of the things that I find so sad is this idea of building a business that you don't then want to escape from, right? And that happens when we're building a business with an eye on growth, but absolutely no thought to what this growth is going to look like when it shows up in our life. right? This is absolutely critical. Like we need to grow, but we need to grow deliberately, not indiscriminately. We need to grow in a way that we're building a business that we do not want to escape from. We don't want to have build a house that we end up hating. We don't want to build a success that we feel ankle chained to. And so when you start to think about where you're casual, where you're rigid, think of it as a branding exercise, absolutely, but also think of it as a building exercise, because you want to be rigid in the ways that protect the life that you want to live, right? Because when business starts taking over our life, when we're so flexible that clients and customers or patients are having access to us at all times, we start not to enjoy the entrepreneurial life, and that's just no fun at all. So I hope this helps you guys. Certainly go visit. Oh my gosh, I've got something to tell you, and I cannot believe I almost forgot to do this. So anyway, go and take a look at this book in case you want to read it. But I reviewed a book in a Mondays with Michelle a while back, maybe a few weeks ago. Would you know that at this conference I was at in Orlando, the co-author of that book was there with a vendor booth, and she had seen my review, and it was kind of a scathing review, but I did note that I was kind of surprised that this person was co-authoring this book, because she was smarter than that, and I thought she was really smart and savvy. But we'd never met in person that I remember, and she mentioned my little book review of a book I hadn't read, and so she was good humored about it. But that was one of my fears about doing this kind of routine before my Facebook Lives. And it came true. So I thought you guys might appreciate that. But anyway, appreciate you guys being with me. I've got a lot going on today. We have our Birthing an Empire training today at 2. I think it's at 2. We've got our sales funnel training at 3 for those in that program. And tomorrow, for all of our Women Who Wow members, we have a training on the 5 critical components of growing your business rapidly. So I'm super excited to make that happen for you guys. And we've got a lot more going on this week. New member call-in hours on Wednesday. Jennifer, if you are watching live, I so apologize for having to cancel on you on Wednesday. They switched up my flights, but I really hope to connect with you very soon. And I appreciate you guys. I'll see you around Facebook if you want to message me, m.me/Women Who Wow. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.